Hi, Dr. Alex Touchstone here. This is the second in a series of time-saving tips. And this week I'd like to show you some isolation techniques that I like to use in order to streamline my workflow. Now, in preparation for this, I took a look at my video library and I selected some various clips that illustrate ideal methods. And so we're going to take a look at those. But first, let's review what we did last time. So if you'll recall, during our last visit, we talked about time-saving tips, and more specifically, we looked at why this is important. Now, certainly we want to reduce our procedural time. That's our overall goal, and so I've given us a goal of reducing our procedural time by 30 minutes. And last time, using the tip that we looked at, we saved about 10 of those 30 minutes. Now, obviously, during this whole process, we do not want to compromise quality in any way. So we're going to focus on that. And we want to improve our overall workflow, lower our stress level, and ultimately recapture profit margin for the practice. So again, if you didn't see it, last week's Chairside chat related back to crystallization of Emacs and a different finishing technique in order to speed up the process. So be sure to take a look at that Chairside chat if you haven't already. This week, however, we're going to take a look at streamlining our isolation process. Now, some of our goals, of course, are to basically move everything out of the way that happens to move. So the tongue, the retraction devices themselves, cotton rolls, mirrors, and so forth need to be out of the field of view of the camera. We also want to fully displace the vestibules, both anteriorly and posteriorly, so that we don't have issues there. And certainly from a more minute point of view, we want to be able to see the margins from the occlusal, regardless of whether they're supragingival or subgingival. So we're going to take a look at the various techniques that I like to use in order to do that. Now, certainly we have a lot of choices with regard to various instruments that we can use. Optogate is certainly one retraction instrument that many people use, as is Isolite, the Comfort View retractor, various manual retractors, all of which work to some degree or another. And then, of course, with regard to the margins themselves, we often use lasers, cord, hemostatic agents, paste. So there are lots of different choices, but I'm going to just narrow it down to the ones that I prefer to use myself during this particular tutorial. I like to use the Comfort View retractor by Premier Dental, and I'm going to show you why I like to do that with this video. First, we're going to see a spandex retractor being used and the difficulty of using this retractor and the inadequacies of it. You'll see, of course, that the anterior portion of the mouth is not retracted. And then, of course, if we try to use a manual retractor, you know, we're fighting with everything. We're fighting with the cheek, we're fighting with the tongue, and so forth. And so let's contrast that with a Comfort View retractor. You can see I've got great isolation both anteriorly and posteriorly. We've got the cotton roll out of the way with the mouth mirror. We've got good isolation throughout, and we can scan very easily with that system. Now, as far as the margin itself is concerned, we've got a couple of options there as well, but by and large, I like to use retraction cord and or Traxident retraction paste as my go-to methods. So let's take a look at another video. Of course, our goal is to capture this subgingival margin very clearly. So let's look at how this was done. First, I'm going to get good tissue control with retraction cord and or Traxident. In this case, I've got a little bit of cord around that premolar and no cord around the molar. Place the Traxident, have the patient close on the compression caps for a couple of minutes, and then remove those, of course, and then rinse all of that off. And the goal is to see the margins from the occlusal. So we want to check to make sure that that is the case with a mouth mirror. And once that is the case, then we can dry and place our wand and begin our scanning process. And you can see I can very clearly visualize my margin intraorally, even though it's deeply subgingival on that molar. And if we go over to the design center and we look at the ICE view, we can very clearly see that margin, the distinction between hard and soft tissue there, and we can mark that margin very easily and very precisely. So that's just a streamlined method for capturing what we need to capture and for isolating properly. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. And please stay tuned for the next tip, which will involve preparation guidelines and a streamlined preparation methodology that I use in order to lower my procedural time there as well. Thanks for watching.